The Articles of Confederation by Marcus Ford. Let's begin. What was the Articles of Confederation? With the absence of the monarchy and the concern of the citizens of the colonies, the Articles of the Confederation was born out of an agreement of fundamental principles adopted by the states and their delegates to oversee sovereignty, representation, and taxation among the colonies. It was slowly adopted due to land border disagreements to the west and ongoing military engagements with Britain, who was trying to hold to whatever little claim they can. This leads us to our next topic: the Confederation and taxation. After declaring its independence, the Continental Congress focused its attention into creating a document that would outline the Congress's powers, its legislative power over the colonies. This came to be known as the key government powers, which was Congress giving itself the authority to declare war, peace, foreign relations, such as commerce with other nations, and regulating trade, and the postal service, which the colonies would use to spread ongoing information on the new governance. This also led to term limits for the governance position of 3 years to ensure that people in office were rotated out very often to the colonies' whims. This ensured that the person in office was beholden to the colony's interests as opposed to a foreign state or nation. Taxation also was brought on by funding for the Revolutionary War, wages for the government workers such as the custom officers, postmen, surveyors of the land, and it also helped with keeping peace with diplomacy or even war with the Native American tribes. This is all outlined in Article 8 of the Confederation, where the Confederation declares that taxes were needed to support the common defense or general welfare of the country. But in order to do all of this, the Confederation had to be wise with their approach to taxation when it comes to the colonies to avoid another upheaval of power. They did this with a two-step solution, where Congress would request that money be paid to the common treasury, and each state's legislature would levy taxes within its own borders to pay for the request. This gave the colonists the satisfaction that they desired when it came to representation for their taxes, and through these voluntary state contributions, it allowed the state to improve its property value, while everything seemed like it was smooth sailing since the colonist was able to get its representation that it asked for, and the state was able to raise revenue without direct taxation or an executive branch to enforce it. A storm brewed on the horizon for the new Confederation. This leads to my next point: problems in the West with the new Confederation. The Articles of the Confederation originally excluded any plans for land west of the 13 states, due to Virginia and Connecticut having old colony charters that made their western boundaries at the Mississippi River, and other states also claimed this land. Other states that didn't have external land claims insisted on withdrawing these colonial boundaries to create a national domain to be sold to the settlers, while it was in the interest of the Confederation to sell the land western of the 13 states to settle any of their debts. States such as Delaware and Maryland held out for a better deal. A better deal came in the form of a compromise in 1779, with the states disputing that any land a state volunteered to relinquish will become part of the national domain. While all the states unanimously agreed, cracks started to form within the new Confederation over governance. This all leads to problems formed within a new government. Problems such as inefficiencies that led Congress to come to deadlock commonly and a lack of a permanent residence. Lack of a permanent residence is attributed to British military threats aimed at Philadelphia, causing the Congress to relocate to small Pennsylvania towns such as Lancaster and New York, and then to Baltimore. With inefficiencies and delegates becoming more reluctant to move further away from home, the Confederacy created the executive departments. These executive departments included War, Finance, and Foreign Affairs that were created in 1781 to handle purely the administrative functions that came to running the colonies, to allow the Congress to continue without disruption. With less disruptions, this allowed the Confederation to move towards sovereignty among the states. The states retained the power and authority over their own matters, except when it came to war and peace. States also implemented their own constitution with full qualifications. This led to a rise of republicanism and different views on points of suffrage when it came to what qualified someone to be able to vote. Two different views on this would be Abigail Adams versus John Adams. Abigail Adams, that people shouldn't be deprived of a voice within their own legislation, while John Adams believed that only property owners should be allowed to vote, because if women were allowed to vote, then everyone would demand the right to vote. Alright, and that's it for my presentation. I do have to leave you off with one question. Why do you think that John Adams saw more representation as a bad thing for the Republic? And here's a quick mention of my links that I use for all the pictures that I've used in my presentation. Y'all have a good day.